Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Juan. I'm just one reader, and I am here with the I Dare You book tag. This is kind of an older book tag. I am not sure if I have been tagged by anyone. If I have no clue, no idea. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. So I think this is called the I Dare You book tag because they dare you to be like super honest and answer all the questions, which I always do because I'm always super honest. I am 100% honest. I am also the king of the world and I am half hippogriff. So let's get started with the first question, which is what is the book that has been on your shelf the longest? And I was gonna answer with something like Harry Potter or The Chronicles of Narnia or one of those childhood favorites, but then I remembered that I have this childhood treasure. So this is basically something that my parents gave me when I was 2 years old. They made this picture book for me. This is me. So this is kind of my alter ego in this whimsical fantasy adventure in which I am a bear, apparently, and I also have a teddy bear who's my best friend. And isn't that kind of creepy that I'm a bear and I have a teddy bear who is my best friend? Is that like cannibalism? I don't know, it just sounds really weird when you think of it. But anyway, I've had this book for 24 years and apparently I really loved it. I even drew and doodled all over it. So yeah, this one has a history and I am never parting with this book. Question 2 is, what is your current read, your last read, and the book that you will read next? So, I have two books that I am currently in the middle of. One of them is My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. This is fantastic. I am slowly making my way through it, and the writing is... Oh. And I am also reading the 8th book in the series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket, The Hostile Hospital. It's really, really fun. The last book that I read was Ship of Magic. This is the first book in the Lifeship Traders trilogy by Robin Hobb. Sadly, I did not enjoy it. I sort of liked it intellectually, but not in execution, and it just kind of really killed it for me, so I gave it 2 stars. And then the book that I will probably pick up next, probably, emphasis on the probably, is A Brief History of Seven Killings by Marlon James, winner of the Man Booker Prize. So, this one is a chunker. It's like a big project, and apparently it's a complex, time-consuming book. I'm really excited, even though I'm very intimidated, which makes me kind of ambivalent towards this book, but I am really excited. However, in 1 week, I will go back to my master's degree. So I don't know if I'm gonna have all the time in the world available, all the time that I would like to dedicate to reading this book, but let's hope. Question 3 is, what book did everyone like but you hated? And I chose Paper Towns by John Green. And before you start with the whole John Green hate, I actually like John Green. So this book is it just stands out because John Green is a very problematic author. He has many positive things, I guess, but he also has some very negative things, at least very problematic and very, cliched writing, and, his characters are pretty much the same in every book. But still, I don't care. I like his books. I have read them in moments in my life that have meant a lot for me. The books have meant a lot for me when I have read them. I really like The Fault in Our Stars. I really liked Looking for Alaska. I thought An Abundance of Catherines was kind of but I still enjoyed it. And I loved Will Grayson. Even though I can see that they are kind of guilty pleasures, if you will. But Paper Towns, I hated this book. I thought it was poorly written. The characters were literally the worst, most annoying, insufferable, semi-quirky wannabes. I hated these characters, particularly the mystery girl. Her name is Margot. I hate that character with a gusto, and I would burn this book. I hate it. Question 4 is, what book do you keep telling yourself you will read, but you probably won't ever read? And I think that would be Dracula by Bram Stoker. I even have my own copy and everything. And the thing is, every time I think of Dracula as an intellectual, idea, as a concept. Like, ooh, I want to read Dracula. It's gotta be so great. Yeah, this year I'm gonna read Dracula. But then I pick up the physical book, like the actual book, and I'm like, just, ugh, it makes me sick. It makes me fall asleep. It's like snooze fest. Question 5 is, what book are you saving for retirement? Funny thing is, not retiring, because as a psychoanalyst, you don't get to retire. I mean, you could retire, I guess, but the curious thing about being a psychoanalyst is that the older you get, the better you can do your job, because you have more life experience and more clinical experience, and also more theoretical knowledge, I guess you could call it. But yeah, as a psychoanalyst, you don't even think of retirement. Question 6 is last page. Read it first or wait till the end. Always wait till the end. It's there for a reason. It's at the end for a reason. However, I will admit that I cheated with some Harry Potter books. I didn't read the ending of the book, just some endings of certain chapters, if you know what I mean. Fred Weasley. Because I just wanted to know if all the characters were going to be safe and alive at the end of the chapter, and that was not always the case. Question 7 is acknowledgements. Are they a waste of paper and ink or interesting aside? And honestly, I don't have one answer. I think some acknowledgements are great. They give you insights about the book and the writing behind the book. But some acknowledgements, that's a tough word, acknowledgements. Some acknowledgements are just, I couldn't care less about them. Sometimes I don't even read them anymore, unless it's an author that I really care about. Question 8 is, which book character would you switch places with? Okay, so Hermione Granger, because I am very much a male version of that character, but also Bastian Balthazar Bucks, the protagonist of The Neverending Story. That character, I swear that Michael Ende based that character on me. That's literally me on paper. If you read The Neverending Story, that's me physically. Well, that kid is kind of an overweight kid, and I am not overweight anymore, but I used to be overweight all my life, so that used to be me. I was that fat kid who loved reading and who sought shelter in a bookstore. Question 9 is, do you have a book that reminds you of a specific moment in your life? It can be a place, time, or person. And I guess the fondest reading or bookish memory that I have ever is the midnight release party of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows on the night of what was it, July 21st? Yeah, of 2007. I was there. My dad took me to Mexico City's biggest bookstore. Everyone was there. Costumes, posters, everything Harry Potter. I didn't dress up, but I did carry my wand, and I was waiting online for the book. I was waiting in line, and I had my headphones on because I didn't want anybody to spoil anything. Because the awful thing is that the previous year, when Half-Blood Prince was released, somebody spoiled Dumbledore's death while I was getting my book in line. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. So I was so upset that when this book came out, I said, no, as a precaution, I am going to blast my eardrums with incessant, loud, devastatingly loud music. And so I could not hear everything in the party that was happening all around me. I was just enveloped in this like very private, very intimate, self-contained excitement. And when I received my book, I felt like I was going to faint. I was so excited. It was the climax, the culmination of my life so far at that point. And I got to my house and I started reading, and for 2 days I didn't leave that bedroom until I finished. And I was kind of a mess. Question 10 is, name a book that you acquired in an interesting way. So this is a textbook, and it's one of my favorite textbooks, one of the most classical of the classics of psychoanalytical theory. This is called General Theory of Neurosis. This is by Otto Fenichel, who was one of the pioneers, the founding fathers of psychoanalysis. He was right there with Freud when everything started happening in Vienna in the last century. And he wrote this, and this is a book that you cannot buy anymore. It's not available. It's not on print. It's out of print. That's how you should say it. And the only copy that I could get is this one, and this one is annotated, underlined. It's completely battered and used. My mom had to get this for me in a secondhand bookstore in Argentina because in Mexico apparently you just can't buy or see this book anywhere. So this is a very, very treasured book for me. I really value it because literally it's one of the few in existence, and it is kind of like the Half-Blood Princess potions book from Harry Potter. Question 11 is, have you ever given a book away for a special reason to a special person? And the answer is obviously yes. I am a reader. I'm a bookish lover, so I always give books away as gifts, as birthday presents, as Christmas presents. I gave books to my students. I give books to my friends all the time. I don't give books to my family because they don't like to read. They don't like books, but I would if they were like human. Question 12 is, which book has been with you most places? I don't really get this question. Maybe one of the books that I used to reread all the time, maybe one of the Harry Potters. Question 13, is there any required reading that you hated in high school that wasn't so bad 2 years later? I guess Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, in high school, we used to read a lot of short stories, and we used to read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe, and I liked him because how can you dislike him? He's amazing. But it wasn't until I left school that I started to read him on my own, and I started to appreciate him more. Question 14 is, used or brand new? I usually get my books brand new, honestly, but I do prefer them used. The thing is, I don't have a lot of access to used bookstores, but if I did, I would probably go there. Question 15 is, have you ever read a Dan Brown book? Of course, I have read all of them. He is an author that I am unapologetically a fan of. I love Dan Brown. I refuse to feel guilty. He's not a guilty pleasure. He's just a pleasure. And he has a new book coming out in September. It's called Origin. It's I think it's set in Barcelona, and I will have a Dan Brown party the day it comes out. Question 16, have you ever seen a movie that you liked more than the book? Yes, many. Off the top of my head, Cloud Atlas is one of my favorite movies, and the book had its things, but I did not get along with it very well, but the movie, oh. Question 17, have you ever read a book that has made you hungry? Cookbooks included? No. Question 18, who is the person whose book advice you will always take? Myself. No, I mean, there's a lot of people on BookTube whose recommendations I really follow and I pay attention to their reviews because we have similar tastes, etc. But I don't think there is one person that I trust 100%, at least not as much as myself. And last question is question 19. Is there a book out of your comfort zone that you ended up loving? And I want to mention The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. This is now one of my favorite books, but I read this in a moment in life when all I had been reading was YA and maybe some adultish kind of books and maybe some literary fiction stuff. But this was the first big adult literary fiction project that I ever undertook. This is very long. It's 1,000 pages long in this edition. And I just loved it. It blew me out of the park completely. I never thought I would enjoy this type of book as much as I did. And it's been one of my favorite books ever since, and because I read it at this very special moment in life, and it changed me as a reader and it made me into the reader that I am today. It is kind of a cornerstone, so I just love this so much. So that was the I Dare You book tag. If for some reason you have not been tagged and you're watching this, consider yourself tagged and tell me your answers or let me know if you post a video or something. I am Just One Reader and I will see you next time.